All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Climbing Hold News Reviews. I'm your host, Dr. Z, as always. Today, I'm joined by some special guests. I'm joined by the owners of Binary Holds, which is a Canadian company, and they are doing some super cool stuff. So I will just pause and let them sort of introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about Binary Holds, and thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I think just one sort of important thing there is that we're not the owners. We are employees. So I sort of handle most of the communications and that kind of thing. And then Jess is in charge of the kind of day-to-day production.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, those are important jobs. So even though you guys aren't the owners, those are definitely important jobs. And any hold company is going to need those positions. So thanks for doing that for them. So tell us about Binary Holds. Like, how did Binary Holds get started? I know a little bit about you guys. I know obviously you started out with just polyurethane and you're moving in a really exciting direction. So I would absolutely love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so company did start with polyurethane, like you said. Sort of initially started, the owner also owns some of the climbing gyms here in Calgary. So it was sort of just a way initially to like in-house make some holds. But then sort of in the last, I guess, year or two, kind of transition more towards kind of helping move the industry towards like sustainability and making holds out of recycled materials, and that we can also recycle once they're at the end of their life cycle. So just trying to improve the industry, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Save the earth, man. It's super important.
Yeah.
So you guys obviously started out in polyurethane. I've seen some of your shapes. My buddy Andy Nelson, who's a shaper and owner of Method Grips, he picked up some of your shapes actually at CWA. So I've climbed on some. That was a few years ago. My understanding is your polyurethane formula has changed since then. But you guys are moving in a different direction from polyurethane, and one that not a lot of brands have explored to this point. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we're moving into vacuum thermoformed ABS holds. We actually do not make any polyurethane holds anymore at all.
Wow.
We're strictly making ABS holds now. So yeah, I mean, it's very different. It's new to everybody, but yeah, I think it's a great direction to be moving in.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of, like, I don't know if we want to call them poorhouses. There's not a lot of poorhouses that are doing this sort of thing. In fact, I really only know of you guys and then Blocks, which of course is a mega power over in Europe. And I've heard rumblings that other people are exploring this technology as well. Nothing concrete, just rumors all at this point. But you guys are definitely early on the scene, which is great. And I just wanted to share, you guys were gracious enough to send me some of that new technology to review. So you guys actually sent me the Lemmas, which these are dual texture, and these are, like you said, they're vacuum thermoformed. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but the plastic here. And it's really cool. And I was definitely very excited to get them. Especially, I was expecting like this. I was expecting this. I was expecting like lightweight, and we'll talk more about that. Really well made. I'm super impressed. Just initial thoughts as far as getting these. And you guys sent us the whole set, which was super cool. So cannot wait to get these filmed and showcase them and talk more about them. But what I was not expecting, to show you this. So I saw that you had smaller holds in the line, and I was definitely thinking those are going to be polyurethane. I was not expecting this. So this size of hold, which has the exact same technology. And that really was super cool to see, and definitely was like, for me. So I want to thank you guys, first of all, for your company sending us these, and we're super excited to check them out. But I will say my impressions are this technology is really impressive. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about, what, I know you can't say too much, but what brands are exploring this. I've heard rumors again that there are some brands that are using you guys in North America as far as exploring this. I've heard some of those brands publicly say it. I'm not going to say it myself until you guys say it's okay. But are you guys able to say anything more about that?
No,
not really.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah, we are also sort of pretty open about the technology with the other brands. There is like a couple brands as well that are sort of hoping to do it in-house themselves. So currently, sort of our goal is to become basically the manufacturer for a lot of the brands, but we're also sort of helping brands do it themselves because we do think beyond our success that it's good for the whole industry kind of to move this way.
So that's cool, but I have heard some brands talking about that. I know you guys were at CWA. Definitely, we're seeing this direction that came just from nowhere. I mean, I don't think anybody really saw this coming. And I think it's really exciting, especially as a route setter. So what you guys don't know about me is I was a professional route setter for about like 10 to 15 years, somewhere in there. It was obviously before this era, but I definitely have seen a lot of changes in the industry, and this has been a really exciting change, especially as a route setter, because you got to carry these things up the wall. And these these are not, but most holds this size are heavy. And I certainly have some, non-disclosed injuries, I'm sure, as a route setter from doing that and lugging things up. And of course, now we've got good pulley systems and whatnot, but it's still a lot of manual labor. And this whole set, I mean, it is light. The whole set is super light. So I really applaud you guys on that. I think it's really great. So do you guys think, with that question in mind, is this the future of route setting?
We hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The lightness is an important part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can bring more holds up with you and do more things just because they are lighter, fit more things on the wall, that kind of thing.
And as you guys hit on too, sustainability. I mean, that's really important because plastic is not good for the earth, and certainly, the climbing hold, although there's way bigger plastic industries, it still contributes to it. So I love to see the climbing community sort of moving in that direction. And you guys mentioned potentially like even recycling holds. Can you tell me any more about that?
Yeah, that is, I would say, a future plan that sort of as the holds we're selling reach the end of their life cycle, we'd like to be able to take them back and then basically burn them down, mulch them up, make new holds out of them. We already do that with sort of all of our offcuts and waste kind of plastic. But yeah, we'd like to get to the point. There's a few little things we have to figure out, I think, before we're at that point. But that's the long-term goal for Binary.
Super cool. I think that's great. And you mentioned no more polyurethane. So this is just the only direction you guys are going now, which is great. So you've obviously
pretty committed.
Yeah. That's a big commitment for sure. So you guys have the Lemmas, and it looks like those are available in both a dual texture and also a full texture.
Correct.
And again, I've got the dual texture here. This is just one of the holds. Got a buddy that is a route setter, Brendan, at Dyno Climb in Detroit, and he loves these things. He thinks they're super intentional as far as like where the dual texture was placed. He's been impressed with the quality of them, so I'm really excited to get to check them out myself. So we've got the dual texture, don't have the full texture, but you guys also just released another full texture series too. I believe the Parabolas. Am I naming that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, we have a few just in the corner here.
Just laying around.
Yeah, I think we find that is sort of another kind of benefit of the way we do this. That we can sort of put the texture wherever we want, and we can have hold, and we can sort of mix and match different textures, like texture up. And so if someone comes to us and says they want the texture a certain way, that's really not hard for us.
Yeah, we can put it wherever.
So right now we have these only in full texture, just sort of that's the way they were designed. But if we wanted to, it would not be really much more work for us just to add a dual texture line and have that in dual texture as well.
Sure. Cool. That's great. And it's nice that there's almost like a little customization aspect to that too. It sounds like that your customers can order. That's great. So my next question is, do you guys feel like this is early in the technology? Do you think that this is going to continue advancing, or do you think this is it? We're here.
I think we're still early. I think there's still lots of stuff that we can do with it. There's stuff that we're already looking into to innovate the product and make it even better than it already is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing that. The other question I have for you guys with respect to the technology, do you feel like there are limitations, like with the shapes? I mean, obviously, I have a feeling, I don't know for sure, but that some of these shapes are going to be 3D generated. And I know we've got shapers in the climbing community that are very open about being 3D shapers. Dan Yegman from Decoy, for example, the guy that does all the shaping for Next Climbing Holds, I know that he's very into 3D shapes, and I know he's very open about that. I'm sure he'd be totally fine with me sharing that. Do you guys feel like there are limitations with these shapes, or do you feel like the technology moving forward will help break some of those limitations?
Yeah, like I think currently there are some limitations with the way the technology is right now, but I think some of the limitations that we came across were ones that we could overcome and figure out ways to get around them.
Sure.
So I think that as the technology progresses, we'll just start seeing cooler and cooler stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was going to say that we also do have, like, we've worked with both foam and like 3D models for our shape. Our shaper here mostly uses foam, but like some of the partners we work with send us 3D files, and we make holds off that. So we're both of those work for us.
Yeah, we are also able to form like right off of a polyurethane hold as well. So if a company says, hey, we have these in polyurethane, but we want to try them in ABS, we can just form right off of that.
Now that is super cool. Like that was something that I was not aware of. That's really, really cool. So like, let's just say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a classic hold line, like something that's easy though. I'm trying to think of something that's like a simple shape, nothing too complicated, but let's just say we had a classic shape that's in like every gym in polyurethane, you know, big hold company, they come to you guys, say, hey, obviously assuming that they're within the limitations, can we make this in ABS? You guys are like, boom, yes, we can.
No problem. Yeah.
We do find typically they send the more complicated shapes first, so it's a little bit of troubleshooting first, but yeah, that's sort of our, that's the goal. Yeah, just any shape.
Yeah.
Sure, that's awesome. Well, I love hearing that, and that's a big step forward for the climbing industry too, because again, route setters have backs and arms and, you know, shoulders and elbows, and unfortunately, you know, we're not robots, so we are prone to injury, and I think the heaviness of what we work with is certainly a big part of that, and not only just carrying things, but the installation process. The head route setter here of Minneapolis Bouldering Project and director of bouldering projects, Nick Klubja, he's a friend of mine. He firmly believes that route setters should be called hold installation specialists, because that's what we do. You know, we're installing holds and we need to do it safely, we need to do it effectively, and this lighter technology makes a lot of sense as far as moving that forward. So that's really cool. So just a couple things that I noticed, kind of the nuts and bolts of things. So if we go back to the hold, pick it up here again. So we talked about lightness. You know, they're very, very light. Can't really show that over a video, but they are. Take it for it. What about durability? Like, have you guys had testing as far as durability goes for texture, for the plastic itself? Is there anything that you guys are able to speak to on that?
Yeah, we have like some lines of the holds have been in the local Calgary gym for probably a little bit less than a year now, just testing out the durability of the texture, how it stands up to washing and that type of thing. And we've been getting feedback and adjusting our formulas according to that.
Great.
So far, so good. They seem pretty durable.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen anything extremely bad with the durability, so that's good. Sometimes the dual text is a little bit can scratch, but I mean, you find that with polyurethane dual text as well, so it's nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, you can be a little rough with them, but not too rough, because otherwise, you can definitely damage. And that's true for any hold, of course, so that makes sense. I did notice one thing, and it's pretty clear because of the color. Your guys' washers are not the typical washers that we see used for, you know, regular holds as far as set screws. I'm obviously assuming that is intentional. Just curious how that came about and why you guys did decide to go that direction.
Particularly on the flange, it's mostly so you're not wearing through the plastic as much, just sort of more of an insert that helps the durability a little bit. So when you're constantly taking screws in and out of the hole. Mm-hmm. Also, when it's not like on the smaller ones you had,
Hold that up
It
here.
just helps, so it doesn't sort of flex in quite as much, or helps the screw just have a little bit wider area.
Okay.
Just helps the durability there. We've tested them sort of at working conditions, and they hold up.
Sure. Great. That's awesome. And then, you just mentioned the flange. So obviously you've got, big holds like this that have the flange, and then we've got smaller holds like this that don't have the flange. Do you guys foresee being able to move in a direction with the bigger holds of getting away from the flange?
We are currently working on that, yes.
Excellent. I know that's a big challenge, but the flange is, if you talk to some route setters, they'll just say, I hate the flange. Like, I just absolutely, and we've all got bad memories of using popular brands and using flanges and having screws just bust through them. And it's just sad. And then you have to make a new screw hole, and, the thing's all chewed up, and it's just not good. I guess that brings up one point I hadn't thought of, jibbing these things. So there are some route setters out there that feel that it's okay to jib fiberglass. It's neither here nor there. I have no opinion. But what do you guys think as far as like the plastic here? Will that hold up? Is that something you recommend to avoid, or just questions on that?
I would say at the moment that is something we recommend avoiding. Not something we've done really much testing on our end. But my sort of first thought would be to not recommend.
Yeah. That's generally my thought as well for any fiberglass macro, just because they're in general not cheap. I guess that's question two. Do you guys feel like this is going to bring down the price on plastic and macros and things like that overall?
Maybe long term. Initially, we're finding the price that we're selling at is maybe just a little bit higher than sort of fiberglass, something comparable. But I think we are it's still a very new technology, and we're constantly like making small improvements here and there to our manufacturing process.
Awesome.
So I could see long term for sure, but in the moment, probably not immediately.
Okay. And I guess the benefit would be too, you're also paying somewhat for sustainability, because like you said, these things can be melted down and reshaped, and it's better for the earth. So reduces carbon footprint and all that jazz.
I think that's something a lot of people in the climbing industry care about. So,
yeah, for sure. No, I think in general, most climbers, if you ask them, do you care about the earth? I think you're going to get a resounding yes, because we kind of need the earth to be okay to do what we want to do outside. So that's nice. It's good that the climbers will back it, and hopefully the gyms and route setters will too. So yeah, that, and then just wondering a little bit more too, just about like the texture and dual texture.
I mentioned a little bit like the texture is sort of customizable. We do have, like, we are working on different kind of fields for the texture. So right now we sort of just have a standard texture, but we are working on different options, like a little maybe softer or rougher.
Okay.
As well. We call it the eggshell texture, which is sort of a more wood-like feel, a much gentler texture for them. Yeah. So there are kind of more textured options that we're working on, and some of it we figured out already, and some is still in the works.
Yeah, that would be super cool if you had a macro that you could just customize to whatever texture you want, or you had a couple options at least. That's something that we have not seen in the industry yet either. So that's really cool. I'd like to comment on your texture, which is that I think it's really nice. So I think the texture is not too rough, not too soft. At least what I have here, these feel great. And I cannot say that about all of the fiberglass macros in the industry. Obviously, these aren't fiberglass, but there are brands where I've gotten their fiberglass and I'm like, this is sandpaper. Like, I don't want to touch this. I don't want to hold this. I don't want to dry fire off of this and lose half my skin. So I think texture is absolutely a very important thing. And I love hearing that you guys are focusing on that.
Yeah.
So I guess the last question I have for you guys would be, what's next? Where are we heading with this technology? What does Binary hope to achieve in the coming months to years?
Yeah, I think just lots and lots of new shapes. Since we got completely rid of the polyurethane, all of our shapes we're now having to either optimize for ABS or create new ones specifically for ABS. So you guys can look forward to seeing lots of new shapes coming out soon, which is great. And just new technology. with ABS.
Excellent.
And as well, interested in, I hope in the next few months, some of our partners will start releasing shapes made by us, made out of ABS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
For sure. And especially, I mean, we don't have anybody like you guys in North America. I mean, again, we hit on the fact there is a company in Europe that's doing it, but we don't have anybody here. And I think that that's really important because, you know, I work with all sorts of climbing companies, and shipping fees they're something. Especially, I mean, I've got a buddy who's got a bunch of fiberglass coming over on a cargo ship right now, you know, and the costs on that, or even getting them, you know, on an airplane, they're not cheap. And so hopefully that will help also getting people shapes faster, you know, potentially, like you said, long term, maybe driving prices down eventually, or at least keeping them stable rather than seeing them continue to skyrocket. But we all know.
In terms of shipping, we do see the weight's a big advantage there. Shipping costs are down. I think, like, even the box that we send you with, because they stack nicely in each other, that we had all of them in quite a small, lightweight box, which I think is one of the other benefits of the technology.
For sure. I was shocked. You guys were like, shipping is going to be $35. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, yes. Because most of the time, if you get big fiberglass shapes, I mean, you're looking at 100 to 200, I would guess, pretty easy as far as where we are in the country here in Minneapolis. So yeah, you're right. That's a huge advantage. And then also, I think there's a lot of gyms that when they're doing competitions, they need shapes fast, you know, and I hear that from other hold companies all the time. It's like, well, we got this competition coming up and we need these shapes and we got to get this going. So I think that obviously is a big advantage too, is you can get these shapes in gyms fast for competitions or events, and that's huge. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think it's really exciting. I am very thankful for you guys joining and sharing this information with everybody. I know everybody's going to be psyched to hear it. It's brand new as far as the industry goes. I appreciate the transparency as well. Yeah, so any final things that you'd like to tell our 75,000 people audience?
I don't think so.
Yeah, nothing for me. I think we covered most of the highlights.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, look forward to seeing more from you guys. Stay tuned here at Climbing Gold News Reviews. You are going to see a review with these soon. We'll, of course, do our thing as far as talking about the holds. You heard a lot of that here, but then we're also going to set with them. And I think that's going to be super fun. So can't wait to climb on these things. And thank you so much again to Binary and everybody involved for making this happen. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, that was fun. Thanks, Zach.
All right, guys, take care.
Yeah.
You too.